January 22nd, 2011. Mary Alice Miller is with us here from Our Times Press. Gonna start it off real quick, Mary. Kathleen Black, she had a rough week last week. What do you have to say about it?
Okay, what Kathleen Black did, she was doing her job as chancellor. She had met with a task force on school overcrowding in Lower Manhattan. The task force was run and established by Assemblyman Shelley Silver. So he was at the meeting. There were about 40 parents and other concerned citizens of Lower Manhattan who were concerned about overcrowding there. Kathy Black was presented with information from a gentleman who happens to be a professor at NYU, and he has done population projections for Lower Manhattan, and he presented data to Kathleen Black stating that by the year 2015, Lower Manhattan would need 1,000 new classroom seats. In response to this, Kathy Black said something to the effect of, "Can't we use birth control? That would help." And she was making it as a joke. Some people chuckled, but a lot of people didn't find that funny. Later on in the meeting, she did say that she acknowledged that classroom overcrowding was one of the major challenges she has in her job, running the NYCDOE. That, coupled with strained city, state, and federal finances, is going to provide her with many opportunities to make hard decisions, and what she called them is Sophie's choices. So people reacted to that comment too, and the birth control comment. So we can unpack both of them.
Okay, so what do you say to the people that said she threw a joke out there, that we are overreacting?
Okay, there are a couple of things with that issue. First, I believe that since she is the chancellor of New York City schools, she is in a public managerial position. She's not in the private sector where she can, because she has authority as CEO, that she can say whatever she wants to say and then everybody bows to her. When she's on record, she needs to be careful how she frames her argument. The issue with birth control is a serious issue. There were people who, of course, Barron picked up on it and brought a racial component into it, because black people, among others, are historically have been targeted with many eugenics type of schemes in order to limit our population growth and expansion in this country. So Barron was reacting to the "can't we use birth control, it would help" comment from Kathy Black as a racial issue. However, I have not seen on record that there were many black people in that particular task force meeting on school overcrowding that was hosted by Assemblyman Silver. There's another issue that people are not talking about, and that is class. Race is such a divisive issue in this city, the state, and the country, that a lot of times when people are castigated as being underclass and they're relegated to receiving less services and being denied equal protection and respect under the law, most people feel comfortable that black people are in that position. But a lot of white people don't realize that there's also a serious class divide that impacts them too, especially if they're middle class and, let's say, move into upper middle class, working class, middle class, and upper middle class.
All I'm saying is, it was just a joke. That's what she said. It was just a joke.
It wasn't a joke. This is what I'm saying. Kathy Black is in Bloomberg's cohort, meaning she may not have $16 billion like Bloomberg has, but having, from her position, being the head of Hearst Corporation and being the head of a company that produced national publications, she had a lot of power to shape ideas that went all across this country.
Okay.
So even if she did not have the billions of dollars that Bloomberg has, she's still in his cohort. Don't get me wrong, this woman is not poor. She sent her two children to private school. She herself went to private school. She got where she got. She achieved the position that she achieved with just a bachelor degree. And I'm not saying that a bachelor degree is a light thing, but for years people have known that a bachelor degree is basically equivalent to a high school diploma now, as far as what you can attain with it. Most people know that once they get a bachelor degree, they need to get higher education, a master's, a law degree, a medical degree, a PhD, in order to really set themselves apart from the people who have bachelor degrees. Kathy Black does not have any higher education above a bachelor degree. But there is still a class divide in this city. Kathy Black is in Bloomberg's cohort. Remember, Bloomberg said, we love rich people. He did not say we love all people, or that we love rich, working class, middle class, and poor people. He said we love rich people. So the people, I hate to say this, but the people who live in lower Manhattan are middle class to upper middle class people. They are not in Bloomberg's and Kathy Black's cohort as far as social status is concerned. So those people, let's pack this up, back how they got to lower Manhattan. After 9/11, people moved out by the droves.
Okay.
People moved out of this city by the droves, especially from Battery Park and lower Manhattan. The city and the state, but predominantly the city, set up a program to entice and encourage people to move to lower Manhattan.
Let's keep that with Kathy Black.
So those people who moved in lower Manhattan took all the money they had to move to lower Manhattan. Those are middle class people who, when they moved there to set up families. And New York City did not plan for any population growth once those people were enticed to move to lower Manhattan. Those people who moved to lower Manhattan did not plan to have enough money to send their children to private school. So they are depending on the public school system. Okay. And Kathy Black came into a situation where the city did not plan and build extra classroom seats, planning on the projected population growth of new children being born in that area.
Okay.
And so the classroom seat problem is particularly acute in lower Manhattan. So for Kathy Black to say, can't we use birth control, that was not a joke on so many levels. It was about race, but for the group that she was talking to, it was also about class.
Well,
it was also about class, and a lot of people don't see that because there are people who think white skin privilege crosses all economic boundaries. And that happens to a limited extent, but when push comes to shove, white skin privilege does not protect working class and middle class white people from being disparaged by upper class and rich white people. And that was part of the story that people missed. Not only that, if they're projecting that 1,000 seats are needed, kindergarten seats are needed by 2015, those children are born already. So how are you going to solve the projected need for 1,000 seats in 2015, 4 years from now, with children that are already born by using birth control? They're already here. Those little middle-class white children who are living in lower Manhattan are already here. You can't joke about that. Cannot.
Well, the
issue with Sophie's Choice is also another problem for a lot of people. Sophie's Choice, to refresh your memory, Sophie's Choice was a movie in about 1982 that starred Meryl Streep. Basically, Meryl Streep played the Polish woman who was in World War II German death camps. At one point in the movie, she and her two children, a boy and a girl, found themselves in a death camp, and they were confronted by a German soldier. She's being a mother, was protective of her 2 children and wanted to take her 2 children with her.
Mm-hmm.
The German soldier told Sophie in this movie, "You can only take one. You can only save one." She said, "I can't choose. I can't." He said, if you can't choose, I will." And then at that moment, she had to make a choice. It was Sophie's choice to choose which one of her children would live and which one would die. So she chose that her daughter would die, and so that her son would live. Now, her son goes off to a concentration camp, and it just so happened Sophie, in the movie, never knew the fate of what happened to her son. But she did know that she was put in a position to choose to have her daughter not live. And it was a heart-wrenching decision. So when Kathy Black uses the Sophie choice analogy to say that because of the financial constraints and all the other intricacies that take place with running such a large system that's more than $20 billion with a B out of New York City's $60 billion budget, and that 1.1 million children are being educated, there are going to be some hard choices to be made.
Without a doubt.
But to make it an analogy with Sophie's choice, one child lives and one child dies. What is she saying? One child will get a proper education and the other one won't?
I don't even put it this way. I don't want to speculate on that. We're going to move on with that because it's too much to speculate. Let's switch this up a little bit. We have Congressman Ed Towns talking about health care reform. Let's switch. We go get away from her.
Woo.
Ed Towns.
Okay.
And his health care reform here.
Okay, what happened this week is that the Republicans are in control of the House of Representatives side of Congress. One of their first bills that they voted on was something that they called the, quote, job-killing health care.
Yeah, they changed that real quick after Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the bottom line is they actually held the vote to repeal healthcare reform, one of the most progressive pieces of legislation that has come out in this country. And
could have been better.
It could have been better, but a lot of landmark legislation is enacted and then it's built upon. If people, even progressives, are waiting for utopia to come, and they're not going to be satisfied until utopia, they won't get anything. So what happened is this week, the Republicans voted literally to repeal healthcare reform. Now, there are several issues in healthcare that Republicans are going to be confronted with, and they are going to be confronted when that bill comes to the Senate to actually be voted down.
It's going to die.
It is going to die.
The Senate's not even going to hear it.
Yeah, not only that, the Senate is trying to figure out now how they're going to let healthcare reform die in a way to make the Republican vote really show the American people what they're standing up for. Because if the Senate decides to make the vote to repeal healthcare reform in the Senate side, if they decide to break it up in pieces, are the Republicans going to vote to say, we do not want people to be covered for pre-existing conditions? Because right now in the healthcare reform that was enacted under Obama, pre-existing conditions are recovered.
Yes.
Your children, your adult children up until age 27
are
26
yes.
are covered.
But hold it. Let us take a break, Phil. Let's take a break and let's get back to this here. We're going to be back after a brief message from the sponsors. Let's pay the bills and we'll be right back.